the Indie Pod podcast. I'm your host, Super Joe Pardo, and today I am so fortunate to be able to A, be here, and B, have my guest here today. Before we get into our guest and our topic for today, I have to give a shout out to our sponsor, Podbean. They have brought this episode to you so kindly. Podbean is an easy and powerful way to start podcasting. They give you all the tools you need for a successful podcast, such as unlimited podcast hosting, podcast distribution, monetization options for podcasts of any size, and live stream podcasting capabilities. On today at www.podbean.com. That's PODBEAN.com. We're going to talk about, we're probably going to talk about a couple of things because there's like a big elephant in the room going on right now. But at the same time, we're podcasters and we're here to talk about podcasting. So this week we have our guest from Life Transformation Radio. He has been podcasting for 2.5 years?
Yes, it's 2017, February 2017.
February 27. Congrats. So that's 3 years then.
Yep.
Right. So it's 17, 18, 3 years. 19, 20. Yeah. So 3 years now. Congratulations on that. And we're going to talk about hacking your podcast, and as well as probably the other an elephant in the room. What's up, Jenna? Everybody, give a big warm welcome to Sean Douglas. Woo!
Thank you, brother.
How are you feeling, man? You're pent up in a hotel room in Earthquake Central, Salt Lake, Utah, Salt Lake City, Utah.
Yeah, man. I'm just north of Salt Lake City, about 25 minutes away from the airport, and I survived a 5.7 magnitude earthquake this morning, and the coronavirus, and we're just living life out here. It's rough.
Are you from Utah originally?
No, I used to be. I was in the Air Force, and I was stationed out here from 06 to 09 at Hill Air Force Base, and that's where I met my wife. Was here at Hill Air Force Base. So her mom lives here, and she's out here visiting her mom and whatever. And I had some events that I was speaking at, which subsequently got canceled. While I was out here, so I was working out here for a little bit. And they said, we should probably keep you here because the coronavirus in North Carolina, where I live, is not good. There's a lot there. So here I am in a hotel room in Utah with the wife and kids.
What's up, Jenna? Jenna says, thank you for your service. What's up, Lou?
Thank you.
Says, that's crazy, Sean. Right out of the bat, Mike Hackett, what's going on, buddy? I hope you're safe down there in Florida or wherever you're at right now. Says, hey, Joe, do you think the coronavirus quarantine will boost your numbers, but will that have a negative side effect when the quarantine is done? I think that if people actually hear what we're doing and they want to get involved, they're going to want more. So I think it's more of an opportunity for them to get started, to get that first hit in there, and or should I say in there, and then go from there and want more. What do you think, Sean?
I think that the initial numbers will be a huge boost. It'll tailor off. It'll kind of plateau, won't go down. It'll plateau. But I also think that when the podcast conferences resume, that they've already been listening to your show. Now you've got a whole nother audience. And then the numbers of your podcast event will actually increase, which will then subsequently increase your show at the back end. That's what I think will happen.
I think so too, because I think more people are going to want to get involved, and there's going to be a pent up demand for this. I mean, they're but I don't know. I mean, if you're watching the news, they're talking like up to 18 months of pandemic. Like that sounds a bit extreme. I don't know.
Yeah, it's a little bit extreme. 4 to 6 weeks.
I think it's going to be longer than that, but not.
I think by May 11th.
Months.
May 11th is the date. May 11th. Is going to be the day, 7 days after May the 4th be with you, that we will see the decline in cases. We'll have a handle on it, and I think we're going to be fine. I think everything's going to be fine.
I think everything's going to be fine too, and I think we will rebound relatively quickly. But there definitely needs to be some stringent like planning
Yeah.
going forward because we can't live life
Yep.
on the edge like we have been and just
Right.
expecting
No.
everything to be okay.
No. See, the difference between military people and civilians who have never served is everybody's buying toilet paper, but a lot of my guys and people that I talk to that are serving and that are veterans, we're all buying guns and ammunition.
Yeah, so that's not surprising. I mean, I was buying calories when I was in Florida and trying to get back to hopefully stock the frozen side of my
Right.
food
Well, we got
arsenal.
MRE, so we're good.
I just feel like there's gonna be I hope you're right. I hope May 11th is the turnaround date, where we have. Oh, Jenna bought a bidet. Actually, I got a bidet for Christmas.
Yeah, you got to order them off of Amazon. Amazon actually has a sale on bidets right now. Let me tell you something. Amazon, Uber Eats, Walmart, okay, and if I had to guess, maybe, and this is like a long shot, but definitely Amazon, Uber Eats. I would say Instacart, maybe. Those 4 places, for sure the other 3, but Instacart, I'm not really sure on. Those 4 places, mark my words, their stock is going to crush in the market and skyrocket. And the companies, I don't know if Uber Eats is IPO, but they immediately in the next 3 weeks are going to create millions of dollars for themselves, because all of the restaurants in North Carolina and Utah, especially in Ohio and Michigan, they're all closing except for drive-through or takeout. Well, someone's got to go. And if those people are quarantined, they can't go. Guess who they call? They call Uber Eats. So Uber Eats, all they do is drop it at the doorstep and walk away because it's already paid for. Instacart, the only reason I say them is because you can actually order groceries from them and then go and drop it off at your house. Okay, that's what Instacart is.
So I'm in that conundrum where it's like, is the food really safe at that point? Like, yeah, I get they're dropping it off and it's in a bag and whatever, and it's in a container, but like somebody still made it, right? And you're trusting, you gotta have trust that food is not contaminated in some way, shape, or form.
Hand sanitize before you grab it, or grab it with gloves and eat with gloves.
No, but I'm saying like the food, like if I cough on the food while I'm making it, or
yeah, I see what you're saying.
Like that. So the only thing I was thinking was like, you order something, it gets here, you take it out, you hand sanitize, wipe the thing with whatever, and then put it in the oven at like 350 degrees, 400 degrees. Like it's got to die, right? Like I can't imagine the virus would survive that. Now I don't know. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a scientist even. But sure. And if you know, please drop in the chat if that's a thing, because I mean I know the CDC website said something about 80 degrees outside of the body it would die. So I mean, I'd imagine if 300 degrees or 350 degrees, it's got to die, right? It's got to be a thing.
So if it's 80 degrees, are you saying like once it leaves the body and the temperature goes above or below 80 degrees? Because our bodies
above 80 degrees. I know our bodies are 98.6.
You're right. And I was like,
but the thing is that but it's more hospitable. Like there's cavities,
it's wet and it's got it.
So it might, and I mean I don't know that I don't
for 100 degrees. They say cardboard for like 5 minutes, right?
Yeah, so like they say like cardboard, it doesn't last very long. Cardboard, less than 24 hours,
right?
Because I guess the water droplets go into the
porous.
Yeah, and then it's just like left out there to die.
Countertops are like 10 days. Somebody said countertops like 10 days or something.
Yeah, so, but they aren't sure how contagious it is by that point. Like they're like it's there, but it might be dead. It's just not alive. So,
right. Yep.
Absolutely. We still are learning bit by bit. Jenna says, I'm hitting up Home Depot in the morning so I can get things for home projects. That's not a bad idea if you can get into a Home Depot. Hopefully they still have stuff in your area. I haven't ventured over to my Home Depot. I kind of wish I have, but I don't know. I got plenty of home projects laying around the house that I still haven't gotten around. Like I bought all the stuff, I just haven't gotten the time to do it. And now that we're self quarantined, because anyone that doesn't know, I came back from Disney World back on Sunday morning, and so I've had a cough since like Tuesday. My mom has had a few of the symptoms off and on. We don't like she's hopefully she'll get tested soon. My wife has a cough. My daughter's had a bad cough since like we got down there back on Saturday. They got back down there on Saturday. So like we're just self quarantining as much as we can and staying at the house. So yeah, here we are. Here we are in the box.
Oh boy! I wonder if you can keep giving it to each other. Like how
apparently
viruses kind of circulate.
You can.
So nobody. So you're self quarantining with people that are sick that continue to get each other sick.
Yes. Yeah, I
love it.
But there's always they're 2 and 4. What am I supposed to do? Like,
right?
You're on your own, kid. Like, go live in the garage.
You're on your own there, 2-year-old.
Yeah, like yeah.
Yep.
I'm just trying to wrap him in bubble wrap so they don't like kill himself.
Yep.
Trying to like go
absolutely
the place,
absolutely
the swing set and stuff. It sounds like you got kids running around in the background.
Oh my god, yeah.
They're like, oh, how do we get to the hospital? What's the fastest way to get there?
Right.
Let's jump off things in the jump on the bed.
No.
So all right, so podcasting
yeah, man,
in this day and age. All right, so have you shifted your focus at all with your podcast?
No
Okay,
nope, it's the same.
Okay, so has your audience looked to you for any kind of leadership or thought, input, anything like that?
I've gotten a couple messages, like, hey, are you interviewing anybody about this? Like, what do you think? And stuff like that. And I said, eventually I will when there's significant data and the hysteria goes down, because I don't want to be spreading anything that is, because everybody right now is like a Google expert on COVID-19. Like everybody is. Like we were like you and I were just talking about it. Yep. And I listened to what we say, and it was like, I heard this, so this is what we're doing to prevent this and this, but this is what I heard. But that's what a lot of it is, like, this is what we were told. This is what we were heard. We like nobody here's a scientist. We never know for sure. I'm not out here testing people. I don't know what, I don't know. I could have it on my desk right now. I don't even know it. You know what I mean? So
you haven't wiped your desk down? Are you crazy, man?
So here's me, and this is what I'm doing. Definitely hand sanitize.
Yes.
But that's it. I have the mentality of, I hope I get it because my body's going to create an immune system for it. That's why we get flu shots every year. Okay. So basically what happens is, how like 3-year-olds get chickenpox, and then every mom in the state gives their child to that mom for like a day and hopes that their kid gets chickenpox. So
isn't that how you get shingles though? It's because it's inside of you?
You get shingles. Well, yes, but you get shingles, and I know this because I got shingles. You get shingles because it hurts. You get shingles because you had a very small inflammation and infection to the chickenpox. A kid who has full blown chickenpox, your body already has the chickenpox virus inside. You already have it, but your body has an immune system to it. I barely got chickenpox when I was a kid. So what happened as a young adult was like 20s, like 23, 24, 25. It's brought on by stress. So I'm in the military, deployed, brought on by stress, brought on by unsanitary conditions, because we're like living in tents, and you're showering with like a water bottle, or maybe they have a trailer, like a water trailer you can go and shower in, stuff like that. So you basically live off of baby wipes. And so you get shingles, and like that's what we did when we just do baby wipe showers. And so I ended up getting shingles, and I had to be quarantined because there was a couple people on my tour that they never got chickenpox as a kid. So it's highly contagious. Shingles is highly contagious if you've never had chickenpox. I can sit next to somebody who's had chickenpox, they'll never get it. But if somebody who hasn't had chickenpox, if I touch them or in any way, like they'll end up getting shingles. They'll get chickenpox. So that's what the doctor told me. That's what the military doctor told me. So I had to be quarantined for 3 days.
Oh wow, that's pretty terrible.
And it's very, very painful.
Yeah. So, so anyway, So getting back to the podcasting,
Yeah.
because we're only 15 minutes into this thing and I barely talked about podcasting
Yeah.
itself.
Let's do it.
What's some of the ways that you're hacking your podcast to
Oh
I guess
man,
get
here we
more
go.
listeners, or what?
This is gonna be awesome. Okay, so
Enlighten us.
number one, you want to hack your podcast by number one, if you're an author. So I'm talking to published authors right now. Published authors, if you are an Amazon author, your book is available on Amazon.
That's me.
You go to your Author Central page, and your Author Central page is automatically created when you upload a book through Amazon, through KDP, or used to be CreateSpace. But if you have a book, you have an Author Central page. You go to your Author Central page backdoor, and you can create a profile. It's all right there: profile, name, websites, like all that stuff. But there's something called an RSS feed inside of your Amazon Author Central page. You can actually take your podcast and put it on your Author Central page, and I get 200 to 400 more listeners and downloads just by doing that. And I've tested this over 2 months. I put it on there for a week. I took it off for a week. I put it on there for 2 weeks. I took it off for 2 weeks. I put it on there for another week. I took it off for 2 weeks. And every time I took it off, my numbers went down every time.
Wow. Okay. So let's do that.
And I consistently put it on there.
Let's see. I'm gonna share my screen here so people can follow along.
Yep.
Let's see. Author Central.
I'll walk you through the entire process.
All right. So where am I going here?
So Author Central page. Okay. So
there's a blog
you want to
feed.
go to blog feed. Yep, that's it right there. Now take your blog feed and you can add an RSS feed.
I forget what my RSS feed link is.
So it's usually like www. whatever your stuff is. If it's Libsyn, if it's whatever, it's usually Libsyn.com, Podbean.com, blogtalkradio.com.
No, I self-host.
Oh, of course you do, because you're Super Joe.
Yeah, of course. Let's see. Destinations. There you go. Feed / podcast. Boom. Add.
It takes 24 hours for it to populate.
There we go.
Roughly, it takes 24. Roughly.
That actually probably needs to be updated because that probably doesn't exist anymore. The way.
So what you do is you click on like view, like you can view your Author Central page and see what your Author Central page looks like, and it'll populate every single episode. Literally, it'll populate every single episode for you. Yep.
That's awesome. That is super helpful. Where is the view button at? Am I missing it?
You would have to go to whatever your book, whatever
I could just go. I could just copy and paste it.
Yep. Yeah. Whatever your link, it's linked.
Yep. Cool. Yeah, and I'll have to update my blog one too because that's an old web page.
Yep.
That's awesome.
And on your Author Central page, there's a way that you can also create events. It gives you an option to create like an event of wherever you're speaking. So every time I'm speaking somewhere, it gives me, I put in wherever I'm going.
Oh, whatever it was, visit, and it was right there in front of me the whole time.
Yeah,
I always look for like the top corner whenever it's like, hey, I want to view things, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, so you can edit, and all that stuff. Whatever you need to.
I am definitely going to have to spend some more time in there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now that I have a bunch of free time on my hands.
Yeah, so that's what people see when they see your books or whatever. They click on it, or it comes up on a search. Yep. It'll have Amazon Author Central. Then your show comes up. Which is awesome.
That is awesome.
Yep.
Thank you for that.
RSS feeds are amazing. So what email do you use? Do you use Aweber, Constant Contact, MailChimp, MailerLite? MailChimp. Okay, so Aweber, Constant Contact, and MailChimp have an option for you to use what's called an RSS feed email campaign. Most people don't even know this exists.
So is it like auto-generating an email from your blog post?
Yes.
Oh, awesome.
It auto-generates an email from either your blog or your podcast, and when an episode or a blog post is uploaded, it automatically triggers an email to your email list. It's called an RSS feed email campaign. You set it up, and then it gives you an option to put in some preliminary information, like
Mhm.
like hey, and then do you want the name or just want hey ho, let's go? Like, what do you want it to say, right?
Yeah.
And then you put in like, you put in a signature, you put it, whatever you want, right? But in the meat of it is your show note, like your information. Like
Mm.
whatever it sends to Apple is going to send to the email. Hey guys, just uploaded a new podcast. So your preliminary is like, hey everybody, uploaded a new podcast. I hope you enjoy it. Here's the details below. Boom. And then which has all of your data in it.
Oh, that's awesome. That definitely makes it very easy.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
that is very helpful. That's
Most
awesome,
people don't even
Sean.
know that exists. Most people
Yeah,
don't even know that exists.
I used to use we're going way back now. A WordPress plugin that had like a way to send out an automated email every time you put together a new post. So I'd forgot that things like that existed. But yeah, no, that would be very helpful. Everything, every step that you can take to automate the process, especially when you're a one-person band, it just makes it so much more like comfortable and easy on yourself to not be like, okay, now I wrote the post, now I need to write the email that go with the post, and like it just turns into like that many more steps. And when it turns into more steps, it turns into more like, I'm probably not going to do all this every time,
right?
So that's awesome.
Another way that you can leverage your email, which I think is really nobody's, well, I can't say nobody because it's always going to be somebody. So besides the RSS feed email campaigns, you can absolutely podcast swap with people, right? So the way that you do that through email is you create a post that you and somebody else is like, let's say it's me and you, right? So we're going to be on each other's show right around the same time, right? So an email comes out that says, hey everybody, I'm hacking Sean Douglas's, like, here's mine. Hey, what's up, Joe's email list? This is Sean Douglas from Life Transformation Radio, and I'm taking over Joe's email list. And and I send an email, not me, you do, but I'm sending an email I'm hacking his list and listen to my show because Joe was amazing on my show. And it's an email like from me, but you send it through your list. And then same thing. Hey, I don't know what kind of list Sean has, but let me tell you, I'm going to take it over. And here's what I want you guys to know. And, and you basically in the third person, hack the guy's list. And so we've done that a couple of times with some guys, and the feedback's like, wait, what? Like, wait, am I on Joe's list now? Like, what's going on? And they're super confused. And then it's listen to the show here, right? Listen to the guy. This is Joe's information, And so, hey guys, I need you to come hang out with me and, and all that stuff. Right. And then at the bottom, it's like, PS, here's Joe's information. Thank you. And then, so it's just kind of a funny, like, wait, what's going on? And then they kind of get the joke at the end. So you do the same thing with podcasts. What I do for a couple of people is I'll pay whatever, and it depends, the going rate right now is about $25 to $75 per 1,000 downloads for like podcast advertising. And so that's kind of the going rate right now, but I'm glad to pay, $100 to $200 on somebody's podcast for a 30-second commercial, to say, hey, this is Sean Douglas from Life Transformation Radio, and you're right now listening to Super Joe's podcast, and subscribe to his show and my show, Life Transformation Radio, wherever you listen to podcasts. And without further ado, here's Super Joe, something like that.
Yeah.
I say, hey, you're listening to, whoever's podcast, whoever's the host, and be sure to subscribe to both of our shows. Make sure you rate and review each time you listen to an episode so that we both know as hosts how well we're doing. And without further ado, here is the host. And so people have done that on my show. I've done that on their show. If you're not advertising on each other's podcasts, you're highly missing out on some great branding and some great advertising opportunities. And most podcasters that I talk to don't think about, well, that's competition, and because it's a real thing, right? Like I'm gonna do it on yours, you're gonna do it on mine. Some hosts were like, hell no, like, well then do it on mine. Yeah, I'll do it on yours. Cool, man. $200. Let's do it. They're like, what? I'm like, yeah, advertise on my show. Let's do it. $200. They're like, okay, like you have an opportunity to advertise on somebody else's podcast. Like, why wouldn't I do that? Because other podcast listeners listen to other podcasts. They don't just
Yeah,
listen to
well,
one
yeah, right. I
podcast,
mean,
right?
they're podcast listeners, so it's a
Right.
thing that like they already are in the know to know. So there's only
100%.
so it makes sense to tap into that market. And Larry said, looks like I got kicked out of the crib. So I normally I would be in the room right next to me in the laundry room to get away from the upstairs office because my daughter would just come in, or if not, she'd just be like, "Can I come in? Can I come in?" Because it's right next to her room. So now that it's a little bit warmer out, I'm able to come out here in the garage and actually sit down versus having to stand up for an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours at a
Right.
time, recording and doing calls and things downstairs without having to be like in the living room or something like that where people are trying to watch TV or something.
Yep.
But yeah, so I'm out here. I mean, I got arcade games out here. It's fun.
Awesome.
Like my car's sitting in front of me. It's we do what we got to do because we got kids. That's just the way of life.
Yep.
But so I absolutely agree. I know for a long time there was a lot of podcast swapping networks where they would do like these commercials at the end of podcasts for you to like, hey, if you loved listening to Life Transformation Radio, you would absolutely love Dreamers Podcast with me, Super Joe Pardo, and we talk about business lessons. It's where business meets life, blah blah blah, and all of that. It's Larry says it digs the pinball. That's actually not a pinball machine. It's actually a pitch and bat machine because I just fell in love with them as a kid and had to have one. And there's a funny story around that maybe someday I'll tell you, Larry, when I'm not on the air. But yeah, so there's a lot of those things where it's like, even if you have been podcasting for a long time, and I've been podcasting since 2014, you tend to forget some of these things as time goes on because you get kind of in the weeds with doing other things, or like you start focusing on like writing the book or books, and it just it kind of fades from the picture. So it's good to have these reminders. If you have any questions while you're watching and listening, please add them to the Facebook chat. I would love to take a crack at him. Sean would love to take a crack at him. He was saying he would like to see a case study that we could put together right here live in the next 30 minutes of the show, because we're only going to about 9:00 tonight Eastern time. In the meantime, I do want to plug the conference, in the Independent Podcast Conference, which is happening September 24th to the 26th, right outside of Philadelphia. I'm hoping that we're able to not have to push it back or turn it into a virtual conference. So if you would like to still, get invested and come hang out with a bunch of awesome people, we're doing 300 to 400 people at the event this year. It's a single track conference where you're in the room with us, one room. Everybody's there. You're rubbing elbows with all kinds of great podcasters, veteran podcasters, new podcasters, making great long-term relationships. If you want to save 10% on your ticket, go to indiepodcon.com/register and use promo code IPP to save 10%. And if you want to get some merch while you're over on the IndiePod website, go to indiepodcon.com/shop. Check out all the stuff. You save 10% using code IPP as well. We feed you at this conference. You get lunch at this conference. So not only are you getting to rub elbows with these people in the room, you're getting to go and have lunch with them right there in the hotel. And it's a really intimate experience that you're hanging out with like 300 to 400 of your closest friends that you just haven't met yet. And with that said, if you want to flex your muscles, we are still looking for speakers up until the end of the month here. So if you want to speak, go to indiepodcon.com/apply and you can apply to be a speaker. I'll be making the announcement of the speakers on April 15th. So just get registered before the end of the month. And that
I got mine in.
Yes, you did. And
I got mine in.
I'm looking forward to it. What I'm looking forward to this year is the fact that I don't have to be the one that picks all the speakers. I have a team around me now of 6 great people who have so graciously lending their time to help make this conference that much bigger, that much better, and that much just more fulfilling for everybody involved, including myself, because I was literally I'm like vlog. If you haven't been there, I'm vlogging, I'm hosting it, I'm running the slideshows, I'm running the sound, I'm running the video recording, I'm running the back of the room, all at once. And the only thing I wasn't really doing was like the registration table, which I was doing that as well, and the timer, like resetting the timer. So yeah, we have a team now. We're getting volunteers. We're going to be putting out for volunteers soon. So if that's
I'll
something
volunteer
that you're
too.
in, I need to put that. That's awesome. Thank you so much, Sean. We will be putting out a call for volunteers. And if you would like to sponsor Indie PodCon, because there's going to be, I really feel like there might end up being a big pen up, demand for live conferences come September, depending how things shake out here. And you want to sponsor it, go to indiepodcon.com/partners. We have a number of partners that I'm working with right now to get signed up and on board. Worst case scenario, we will be doing a live, doing it live stream over the internet. And we will make all that happen. I just did a town hall 2 nights ago, back on Monday, and explained that this is very much still happening. There's no way that there's not going to be some kind of an event going on. And if you haven't joined our group, one last plug, join our group. It's been growing. We're almost at 800 members now. Just back when we changed the name back in September, right after MapCon 5, we were at about 400 members. And now we're just about to hit 800 members just 6 months later. So go to indiepodcon.com/group, join the conversation, join the Indie Pod family. All right. So do we have any questions? Let me see here. There's a few comments that I got to look through. We need a producer for this show. That's what we to do this kind of stuff. All right, so we don't at the moment, but if you have any questions about hacking your podcast for more growth, please throw the questions in the chat on Facebook Live. It would be great to get some more questions here in the final half of the Indie podcast. Sean, what got you into podcasting? Where did this itch come from?
Yeah, I absolutely love that. And I knew where the behavior was going. I knew where the attention was going. I knew where the media was going. So I study cognitive behavior. And as a resilience trainer, it's something that I just look at people's behavior. And I knew as people started, basically once you hear 3 to 5 people talk about something very close together, it's starting to take shape. And if you've ever heard of the innovation, you ever heard of the innovation theory, law of innovation theory? So basically what happens is the first 5% of the people that join, those are your early adopters. They basically stand in line for 10 hours for the first ever iPhone X or whatever, the newest crate, like whatever is brand new about to come out. They are the first in line, the first to do everything. Once you have more than 5% or so, and it goes up to 10 to 12%, then you've got early majority. An early majority of people will start to have all of their people around them have it. They have to have it, like all that stuff, right? Mm-hmm. Then once you reach a tipping point of about 16%, then the majority of everybody, and it's 30% majority and 30% like your late majority, right? So then you have your laggers, which is like everybody else. The only reason that they go to podcasts is because maybe the news isn't available anymore, and maybe the only reason they don't have a horse and carriage is because they're not Amish. Because cars are everywhere, right? I mean, literally, they have to do. They don't have a MySpace anymore because MySpace is literally got shut down. They don't have an AOL anymore because AOL is shut down. Otherwise, they'd have it, right?
Yep.
They're the guys with a Hotmail email. Those are the laggards. So I knew that more and more people were talking about podcasting. More and more people were talking about where it was going, and I said, I got to get in on it. Like, this is what's happening. So in 2017, I created Life Transformation Radio with a theme, with a monetization strategy already a part of the show. And I addressed the fact that I didn't want to be a podcast like everybody else knows podcasts. I want to get ahead of the curve. So I use Blog Talk Radio because my show was done live. I don't edit an episode. It has a radio feel to it. The show is called Life Transformation Radio. And I started the show with the intention of syndicating after 2 to 3 years of being on the air so that I could syndicate to FM stations nationwide. And that's what I'm working on right now is syndication. So right now I've got about 16 FM stations that are going to sign up. I'm just working on the package, and then I'll be on 16 FM stations across the United States. So Life Transformation Radio is going to, at the end of this year, be everywhere. I'm on every single podcatcher. Early on, you had to apply to Google. You had to apply to iHeartRadio. You had to apply to like Spreaker if you didn't have a show with them. So my show is on Spotify. TuneIn doesn't even pull, or Alexa doesn't even pull from TuneIn anymore, which they used to pull from TuneIn. Whenever you say, "Hey Alexa, play whatever podcast," it would say, listening from TuneIn. Now iTunes is pulled from Alexa, so there's that. I'm on everywhere, every single place, and then I have 2 more shows that are coming out. One I'm creating right now, which is going to be great content. I actually stopped the launch, and I'm going to move it to probably April or May. I was launching right now at the end of the month, but I need more data because this is too juicy. The show is going to be called Failed Dinner Conversations. And it's going to be all about dinner conversations that you had that did not go well. And with everybody quarantined right now, I'm going to have a lot more content than I already do, because I was going to do it now after Thanksgiving, Christmas, and New Year's and Valentine's Day, because usually Valentine's Day is a real bad time for dinner, especially if you ask the girl to the dinner and she plans on breaking up with you and you wanted to ask her to marry you, which actually happened. So there's that. And I have a third podcast launching at the end of this year or beginning of 2021, probably 2021. So this is where the media is right now, and it's not going to change. It's going to evolve. Right. So this is going to evolve. We've seen in 2004 where iPods came out and it was for Apple to put podcasts on, but it didn't work that way. Everybody put their music on it. And anything that we do that we think is going to take hold, usually wait 10 years. Because in 2004, people are like, "Oh my God, MySpace is so good. Oh my God, oh my God." And then people are like, "Well, maybe this isn't so great." And now, 10 years later, in 2014, all of a sudden you've got Facebook, Instagram's coming out, Twitter starts to take hold, right? I mean, you've got all these digital platforms. So if you look at what people are coming out with, okay, and it kind of is okay, but it kind of takes hold, it's not real viral, wait 10 years. I don't know what it is, but if you look at anything, if you wait 10 years, all of a sudden it becomes crazy. You look at cars, you look at anything, but podcasts is the media right now.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I wrote about that in my first book about how it starts with nerds, then filters to geeks, and then filters to the mainstream, and
it filters to celebrities.
Yeah, and it just things do generally take upwards of 10 years to really start to take hold. Sometimes it takes 2 times, there's a bubble, right? Like video games had a bubble, right? In the 80s. Yep. So it took a second coming at that point to really take off. So yeah, and even on the radio, they're talking about podcasts all the time. 100%. Like I listen to WIP all the time, the sports talk radio here in Philly, and they mention the word podcast probably about 3 to 4 or 5 times an hour, whether it's through commercials promoting it or their guests coming on. They're like, "Oh, you gotta listen to the Eagles Nation radio or Bleak Green Radio or whatever it is," and get our podcast. So it's definitely something that not everybody, I think, understands how to get them yet on the people side, and I still feel like it might still be a little bit before that happens, and that's one of the reasons why I think Spotify is so much heavily investing in it, because they're trying to it's not a podcast, it's just Spotify, like I just go I just get it out of there, and trying to change that that mentality of it. Eric Hunley, what's up, Eric? He says the average overnight station is 10 years. Now Stephen Green says, do you ever survey your listeners, subscribers, to see what they want as podcast topics?
All the time.
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 How are you going about doing the survey?
So I either ask him on my show or I ask him in my Facebook group, or when I'm at podcast events, I'm like, hey, who's listening to my show? Like what do you think could not really be improved, but what would you like to see different?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And then you just go from there, and literally I can name probably outside of celebrities, maybe 10 or 12 podcasters who actually get feedback from their audience. Like literally they will have a blog and show notes and a website and all that stuff. And people are leaving comments, what I mean? Guys like Joe Polish, not a lot of people know who Joe Polish is, but he is one of the world's smartest leading marketers on the planet. And his podcast, I Love Marketing, is amazing. And, he talks about, he's like, I had a conversation with a guy who left a review on in our group, like in our, on our website, in our Facebook chat, so he's got chats and everything set up. So there's ways to, yes, get the feedback, but I would say 90% of podcasters have no idea who their audience is. They have no idea what data their audience is giving them. They have no idea outside of the eventual review or rating what their audience even likes about their show. There's no way to do it. So the best way to do it is go to networking events, go to podcast events, open up a Facebook group and get that feedback. Continually ask for feedback. Be like, hey, I just dropped this episode. Please give me your feedback, or send in what you think we should be listening to. Again, your email list is going to be the best way to do that as well. Through your RSS feed email campaigns, you get some feedback from there. I get some feedback, through my email campaigns. Email is still the number one way to reach anybody. And it's not going away anytime soon. I don't care what anybody says.
So that makes me feel really good, because I do get a lot of feedback from my listeners and from my friends that I've become friends because of my show over the course of the years, and having a core central set of people that I've gone back to several times and being like, hey, look, I'm thinking about doing this with the show. What do you think? Like, what's your input? And they're like legit listeners, but they're also close friends, and they're not afraid to let me know, like, hey, Joe, there's one point one of my listeners was like, I hate the fact that you've taken your show and you've whittled it down to 20 minutes because my commute is 35 minutes and I don't want to start another episode, even though there's plenty of episodes to listen to in your catalog. I don't want to start another episode in the middle of my commute. So, I, as a completionist myself, I totally get it. It's one of the reasons why I don't get to listen to podcasts in general, because my commute to the shop is like 15 minutes. So most of the time I'm either listening to music or listening to WIP to see what's up with sports, though now that's out the window. So, well, I'm stuck here. So it's
average podcast episode right now is 66 minutes.
Yeah. And I mean, these shows are an hour, and here's the reason why I stopped editing, right? So when I got started, I was all about the editing and making my guests sound great, making me sound great. And it just was like, once I had my daughter, I was like, I ain't got time for this. Like, it is what it is. I'm not spending 2 hours to save you a minute and a half of an hour-long podcast. Like, it doesn't make any sense. So I applaud you for stepping up and not doing the editing, because unless you're, there's a time and place for it for certain types of shows. I think there's a good place for that. But
I disagree. 100% disagree.
So you don't think documentary shows? You don't
I think you cut yourself short.
You think documentary shows shouldn't be edited?
I don't.
Story-based shows should not be edited, where you're telling a fan fiction, or you're telling I think there's a place for it, but interviews not so much, unless you're like, here's my format, it's a 5-minute format, and we're gonna have an hour-long conversation, and I'm intentionally going to clip it for whatever the reason being. I don't know what, like, why or what audience or whatever, but like, I'm intentionally gonna fit this hour-long conversation into 5 or 10 or 15, 20 minutes or whatever it is.
Well, you could always repurpose it, that way. But
that too.
So true crime and dramas, I know nothing about, I don't listen to that. I know it's one of the top rated podcasts, genres, usually comedy, true crime, drama, stuff like that. Right. They're usually the top rated ones. A lot of people are like, oh my God, I love the show. It's all about this true crime and it's all about this. Like that's awesome. I don't listen to it. However, my mind, if I was to do one, okay. I think that I would just literally write the script and then read the script and not just make stuff up as I go. Again, I don't know what they do behind the scenes, but in my mind, if I'm going to be a professional podcaster, I'm going to make sure that I write the script and then read the script and then have all my sound effects and everything ready to go. So that's one cut all the way ready to go. Then again, I've already tested it like 3 or 4 times. I've already done dry runs and it's not my first time recording, doing this. Right. So if I create an episode, I'm going to do it 3 or 4 times, just maybe not like an hour long, but I'm going to like test certain things like, okay, I'm going to do a button here. So let me have a sound effect here. So I'll read this, boom. Okay. That worked. Okay, cool. That sounds cool. And then once I've rehearsed a couple of times, boom, now I'm going to do it. Now, it might take a lot of time. I don't know. I've never done true crime and drama and whatever. I don't know how they work and I don't listen to them, right? So, but Eric is saying that not editing can be short-sighted. I highly disagree. And here's why. If you're doing a edit, let's say you edit the show, I think that you miss out. I think that you miss out because if you're so worried about ahs and ums and ahs, whatever, one, you haven't prepped your guest. 2, you're not a good host if you are the one doing whatever. Number 3, you missed the opportunity to take the mess ups and create a blooper reel from that and put it on your show as a breakup, as a pattern interrupt. Every, let's say 20 to 30 episodes you release, and maybe it's on your 25th episode, is a blooper reel.
I've done that.
Why not? Why not? Why is somebody so hung up? I think that if you get hung up on the editing of the show and the professionalism of the show, I think that you take away the organic, the conversation. People don't like it to be scripted. Number 2, I think that you lose sight of what you're actually doing a podcast for, and it is to give value. If you're more worried about what your show sounds like because somebody said or the dogs, like my dogs got in a fight on the show and you can hear them like growling and barking and going at it, right? I left it in there and I talked about it. I'm like, my dogs are literally fighting right now. Like I literally have to bring up a dog fight. So, let's go do this. And I literally left the mic on and I was like, knock it up. And I was like screaming at the dogs and pulled them apart and, they ran away and whatever. I was like, okay, I'm back, but I didn't interrupt. I asked a question. The guest was answering the question. I said, I have to go break up a dog fight. What do you think about this? And you heard that mic drop. And then I went, and people are listening to her, listening to the dogs in the background. But I potentially left it in there, so you could create a blooper reel, but it shows the authenticity of the show. However, you cannot, on the flip side, do a show from a cell phone or from earbuds. Like, to have a professional podcast, you have to have the equipment. You have to have the sound. I mean, really, I know people that'll sit through an episode going, okay, where's the nuggets? Where's the nuggets? Come on, I'm hunting. Who will not sit through an episode if your audio is atrocious.
Right.
They're just like, I'm not even sitting through this. Click. I don't care how valuable your show is. I don't care if you're laying down $1 million strategies. If it cuts in and out, if it's fuzzy, if they can barely hear you, they will not listen to the episode. Conversely, they will listen to the episode and hunt for that goat if you have a professional sounding podcast. If you're worried about the ahs and ums and the little things and the little banter back and forth, if you want to cut that out, I think that I don't want to say hurting the show, but I think that authenticity and the organic emotion that the show is creating, like right now, I think hurts. That's just my opinion.
So, I mean, there's a ton of comments going back and forth here, and creating a blooper reel is a form of editing. I also wanted to drop in and say, like those true crime, the documentary style stuff, like you're cutting and editing like the conversations into like the timeline of the show.
Okay.
Like,
yeah.
So like that is a form of editing. Like the editing you're really talking about is like, let me take that out, right? Like that.
Yep.
And I totally believe me. To me, it's not really worth it.
Right.
There's another so I get that, but there is another side of editing that is kind of required if you're going to do those types of shows where it's a audio drama or a documentary of some sort. Like, could you imagine like 2020 like not editing? They just didn't edit anything at all. They were just like, we shot 160 hours and then we're just gonna play 160 hours, and and they didn't. It's all out of order, and it's just like there's no storyline to it because it's always
that's
about,
that's like heavy. That's like heavy editing.
Oh yeah.
So
and
like
heavy, so he was really like a hothead. Yes, he was a hothead. This is like
right. So like for example, somebody who's really heavily into editing, they love to edit the show, would have edited out our conversation prior to this about like coronavirus and surviving an earthquake and like some other stuff, right? And they said, well, that has nothing to do with the podcast. Let me edit that stuff out. And like they would have chopped like 15 minutes of that stuff out of there and never aired it, never like, whatever.
Yep.
That's
how the Steve Jobs Lost documentary. It was because they interviewed him for like an hour and then they only used like a minute of footage with him. And then the rest would just disappear until somebody found it in their garage.
Right. 100%. So when I talk about editing, I'm literally talking about you have a show and you have to splice in your intro. You have to splice in your outro. That's got it. But what I'm talking about is I didn't like what you said just about Steve Jobs because I don't like Steve Jobs. I'm going to edit all that out. I don't want that in my show. You said like 84 times. I'm going to edit out each and every You also had a large break between your answer and the question that I asked. So I'm going to edit out that 5 seconds of a break while you were thinking about like that type of editing is annoying. I would never do that. But I also think that you ruin the organic, the emotional, right. Some people edit out swearing. Some people edit out like, okay, yes, there is a time and place for the editing, like you just said.
Yep.
But if you're having an interview podcast, I don't script interviews. I don't like scripted interviews. A lot of people will send me like I'm on a show probably, I don't know, 60 times a year. And the guys who are like, what do you want to talk about on the show? I'm like, well, let's talk about what your show's about. Let's talk about what the audience needs. Or I get this. Yeah, here's the questions I'm going to ask you. I'm like, that's cool. I'm not even going to look at them. I'm not going to prepare my answers. He's like, I need you to be prepared. I'm like, no, I'm not going to do that.
Yeah, I don't either.
I'm not going to prepare answers. He's like, you're not going to prepare your answers. I'm like, no, I want it to be in the moment, authentic, because my answer might change. My podcast episode might be in 2 weeks and I might go through a life transformation where my answers have now changed from that moment. And maybe I don't believe what I said. You know what I mean? So I think that there is a time and place for editing. Sure. But I would rather, as an organic, real conversation, I ask 3 questions. That's it. And the rest is an organic conversation. And the same questions are always asked because it's the theme of the show. Anything outside of that is very, 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 very organic. Right. So conversation. And I even branded my show Conversations That Transform, which tells you that my show is not an interview. It is the conversation.
I think there's also something big to be said there that, in most cases, the interviews that you're going to be on or conducting are like, say, 20, 30, 45 or 60 minutes or sometimes even longer. Right. So you don't really need to prepare as much as like, okay, you're going to be on the news. You're going to have a minute and a half and you got to have the perfect answer because when we go to you, like, that's it. Like, we're going to cut you off if you just keep talking.
Yep. I've been on the news like that. It sucks,
right? So, and I'm sure you, Sean, have like some prepared answers for like how do people connect with you? How do
Sure.
Your bio, though, depending on where the story is, depending on who you're being interviewed by, depending on what the question is, it's going to change a little bit depending on like what details you're going to give in that interview. Versus just being like, here's my prepared statement about where I was 5 years ago when I decided to become a podcaster because blah, 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 blah. Like, that's 100%. Not, you don't want to be that guy. You don't.
Right.
Now, if you're on the news, you need to be like, I got to know now exactly the question. I got to know the question so I can give exactly the answer and give exactly how people can get in touch with me, because I got a minute and a half to get in and out, and maybe 3 minutes if you're lucky. But yeah, so it's just absolutely different. Eric says these things are not mutually exclusive. I ask unique questions of every guest and chase many a rabbit hole or rabbit trail. I also afterwards, and Eric does he does like 8 to 10 hours of prep work on each guest, doing the
the
research.
prep work's huge.
Yeah, I mean
huge.
I mean, I never did that for my shows, but he just absolutely nails it and goes for like the questions that like, you didn't answer that on this show, you didn't answer it here in this blog interview, you didn't answer it here, it's not in your bio, I want to know, like, I would never get to that, to that level, because I want to have those natural conversations that where I don't know you and I don't know what you're doing, and just genuine curiosity. Benjamin Mull, what's up, Ben? A lot of times for interviews, I'll prep the first and last question and let the conversation flow as much as possible, but having an ending for a hard out, that's not a terrible thing, especially if you don't want your show to run 2 or 3 hours, 2 or 3 hours, as I've been trapped into it at times.
Well, apparently it's okay to have a 2 or 3 hour show because Joe Rogan does it all the time. But then it is Joe Rogan, so it's like he's not really a good case study.
Yeah, but it's also, it depends on who he's interviewing, right? So like, if you want, like when he interviewed like John Carmack, like I want, like growing up as a Doom and Quake fan, like I want to know as much as I possibly can out of John Carmack, because he's not going to be interviewed every day all over the place. Right. So it's like, you get it when you can, and you get as much as you can. Elon Musk, like he's not going to be interviewed to that length by anybody, but Joe gets to do it, and that's great. So it just depends on the person, because it's like there's no such thing as too long, right? Just too boring. And that's boring, so that's the whole thing. It's like he keeps it interesting, and then he chops it up and makes his like Joe Rogan clips, and then the clips are 8-10 minutes long each, and he's getting millions and millions of views, racking it up because people are interested in the people he's having. They're interested in him. It's a win-win situation for him.
Absolutely. I've got 2 more marketing hacks and things that I do for my show, and then I'll leave it to you.
All right, great. Go.
Very quick, number 1 that has really blown it up is the Facebook ad strategy that I use is $3 a day for 7 days. And you're targeting the lowest amount of people you can, like not like 1 million or 5 or 10 or 100 million or whatever, because Facebook has that little dial and it says it's either too broad, which is a good thing, or too broad, or too small,
too narrow.
What do they call it?
Too narrow. Narrow,
So narrow is really good, right? So you want to get the needle all the way to the left as possible without Facebook, telling you no, you can't do that. So usually I target podcasts, and then I target a topic of the show. Suicide. I've had entrepreneurs all the time on the show. Business. So I'll be like, entrepreneurs. Wow, 500 million. Delete. What did we talk about on the show? We talked about podcasts always. And we talked about, let's say it's digital marketing. So I go to digital marketing. I'm like, oh, okay, that's only a 5 million. Okay, cool. How can I get that down more? So my goal is to get that as down as possible. Once I do, I take out a Facebook ad for $3 a day for 7 days, $21. What I do is I give the show notes, a little bit of the episode. And I say, listen to it here. It goes to a website with a Facebook pixel. So I pixel the audience. I then, for the first week, I run the ad. For the third week, I then retarget that pixeled audience for a $3 a day, $3 a day, 7 days. So another $21. So now you're at $42 total for ads. And I will always reach about a 2,400 person audience. Out of that 2,400 person audience, I get about 1,000 people who actually click and get pixeled. Out of that 1,000 people on my website, I've got programs, products, services, whatever. And I've gotten this year, I've gotten 3 clients who I've launched their podcasts for. That's $1,400 and some odd dollars, just base price. And then it goes if you want a website and whatever else. So I've gotten 3 clients that way. I've gotten thousands of people onto my show. My email list has grown by thousands of people. And I've literally spent maybe $42 a month on a Facebook ad. So you pixel them and then you retarget the pixeled audience. So you're basically dwindling down your numbers just by people not taking action, but you're giving them the most valuable content, the easiest way to listen, the easiest way to subscribe, just make it stupid easy for them. And then you give them something for free. Launch your podcast in 30 days, free download, how to do it. A little whatever. Or like if Joe's sitting here going, here's how I started my podcast, and you give him like a one sheet on how you did it, or how to use StreamYard, which is what you're using, or right. So a free download, bada boom, the ads. Like the ads is huge.
No, I love that. I think there's a lot of a lot has become demystified with the ads compared to just like 3, 4, 5 years ago. So I definitely agree. I think that being able to spend $21 and have a plan for how much you're going to spend, and not just go down a rabbit hole of spending a limitless amounts of money and then being like, oh crap, now I got to pay the bill. Is that's solid, man. That's great. Really great advice.
There you go, man. That's literally the biggest. I say the biggest push was through those ads, right? And to just to close out those hacks, man, you got to create audiograms, and sometimes you can use an audiogram as the Facebook ad because technically it's a video, right? So you create an audiogram, and there's 2 ways to do it. You can go to Headliner and create it through Headliner. You can go to Audiogram and create an audiogram there, or you can use a software called repurpose.io. And repurpose.io is made for my buddy Hani Mora, who is a great guy. Excellent. Oh my God. Excellent friend, excellent human. He's one of my favorite people on the planet. We have conversations all the time. And if you haven't used Repurpose, it's absolutely incredible. I repurpose all of my Facebook Lives to YouTube. I repurpose all of my podcast episodes into an audiogram automatically to a different YouTube channel, which is my podcast channel. But all of my episodes get a 3-minute audiogram of the same 3 minutes. Like, what is your why, or what is your transformational moment, which is 2 of the questions I ask. And so I'm always consistent. Consistency is what's going to build listener habits. So audiograms you can use for Facebook ads, but take those ads out too, and just keep doing that over and over and over again, and your show is going to blow up. So go back and listen to this whole thing, because we dropped some crazy nuggets that people are just not doing. People didn't even know that RSS feed email campaigns existed.
Well, the first one, the RSS feed in the Amazon.
Apparently I knew on Amazon
because I did have it. I had it for my old blog, but I haven't been there and updated. So thank you for the reminder. Again, when you aren't in it every single day, or because you're going down multiple paths of trying to get everything, it starts to become a little like, oh, I forgot about that, and I forgot about this, and I need to go back and do that. And I remember that was a thing, but I wasn't. I didn't put my focus in that area, so I it just fell through the cracks. So thank you so much, Sean, for bringing all that to the table. I really appreciate you, and I appreciate everybody taking the time to listen and watch live here on the Facebook Live. We do this every Wednesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern here in the Facebook group. If you're not part of the Facebook group, you totally should be a part of the Facebook group. If you're watching this outside the Facebook group, go to indiepodcon.com/group. That'll drop you right into the Facebook group. Click the add button, and you'll get approved within hours usually. And if you want to join us September 24th to the 26th, 2020, assuming everything goes the way it's supposed to, here in the Philadelphia area, go to indiepodcon.com. If you go to indiepodcon.com/register, you save 10% using code IPP when you go to checkout for your ticket. Sean, I really appreciate you taking the time tonight to be here despite the coronavirus, an earthquake, and being in a hotel room with your kids.
Yeah, all good, man. You're doing amazing things, man. We got a lot of mutual friends in the podcast world. I'm pumped. I was supposed to be at your event last year, but life happens, and
of course,
I was actually speaking somewhere else. which was kind of a last minute date because I was really hoping to come see Jeremy Ryan Slate and my buddy Robert Thibodeau. See my two buddies come and speak at the event, but I got booked to speak somewhere else. So I've got my calendar clear for this year for the 24th and 26th.
Bam,
so
let's
I'm
do it.
pumped to come to your event, my friend.
Love it. Well, let's see if we can make that happen. Hopefully everybody plays their part and we can get through these tough times. This episode is brought to you by Podbean Live. Podbean's live stream is a unique platform for turning your podcast production into a live show and is open to any podcaster on any hosting site. Easily invite multiple co-hosts and guests to join the live stream, earn money from live stream show ticket sales and listener rewards, and engage your audience in a new and exciting way. Ready to get started? Sign up today at podbean.com/live. That's podbean.com/live. Everybody, I hope you all are having it's a crazy week. I gotta say, like, every day feels like a year. It's insane how much is changing on a day-to-day basis. Meanwhile, we're like stuck here at the house. So I hope you all are staying safe and enjoying the time that you have with your families, and or enjoying the time that you're getting to do the work that you do. If you're a healthcare provider, if you're somebody in the necessity realm, enjoy it because you're making a difference in the world. So please don't lose sight of that. Sorry. Have a great night, everyone. Next week we have who is our guest next week? Doc Kennedy. Yes, I am pumped for Doc Kennedy to be on the show. It's been a while since I've gotten to have a good conversation with him, so I'm looking forward to that. And we if you want to be a guest on the show, go to indiepodcon.com/guest. I was looking for the clicking thing, but I can't. Oh, there it is. Go to indiepodcon.com/guest so you can sign up to be a guest on the IndiePodCon show, or podcast, I should say. IndiePod podcast. Have a great night, everybody. Stay safe, and I will probably try to do another live Facebook Live tomorrow night in some way, shape, or capacity just to check in.